The big rumor is that Dave Filoni and I believe another person are tapped to take over KK.
Is that the one coming out of the Hollywood Reporter article? I mean, there was a Hollywood Reporter article a couple of days ago.
Help me out here, Fletch. Help me out here.
Where's that coming from? There's a Hollywood Reporter article about the Iger succession, which does say she's going to leave along with Iger. So again, the trades are saying she's leaving. Maybe we're all crazy, guys, but the trades are saying it. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, so far there was some stuff that happened in I think there were like Star Wars, what do they call it? Fans things that they were talking about that she was going to be, speaks on her plans about not retiring in soon. And then they were like, well, Dave Filoni is going to be kind of like the one in Reigns. So I'll see if I can find it in 1 second.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, and then, I had a couple of people coming at us. Hey, what about your rumors, Paulie? What about your, and Cameron's, thing? I thought it was gonna be. You guys were saying it was gonna be, what's his name? Jesus, Favreau.
I've never said that. I've never said that. I've said Favreau will remain the shadow power. I've always said he doesn't want to run a studio. He wants to make movies. He'll always be the guy that everyone's like, all right, boss, what do you want to do? But he doesn't need a title for that. I've never said it's Favreau. People may wish to interpret it that way, but I've always said on my Patreon, he wants to make movies. And so this rumor that it's Filoni with some other guy is the more rational rumor, because if Filoni is I've met him once. Some people don't believe it, but I met him once because I interviewed for the Clone Wars before it was even bought by Disney, when it was still Lucasfilm was independent. And then I ended up not getting the job, and I went instead to the other animated show. I went to Tron Uprising, right? But I met him that time, and he even then struck me as an ambitious company man who was never going to go against the powers that be, but knew how to work the system. And he's done that in the 15 years or so since that meeting, and he's certainly positioned to be a future leader within Lucasfilm. He's been working for it, and he's got the institutional knowledge to do that, and the creative trust, at least of Favreau and others, right, to a large degree. And if Favreau isn't going to run a studio, which I don't think he ever wanted to do, then it would make sense to, we've always said, put a creative person, like make Filoni like the head of creative, and put some business person to be the person that deals with the finances, right? Which I'm not so sure that Filoni has any experience with. And so you found the article. But Favreau, I've always said, wants to be the guy that is like, the dude in the background that, whoever the official titles are, they'll, hey, John, is it okay if we do this? And he's like, yeah, or don't do that. I got another plan. You don't need no title for that. That's just the way Hollywood works. You're just the guy with the power. Titles are, a corporate thing. He's not a corporate man.
So, in a nutshell, what is this? Are some sound bites from this article, Fletch?
So it says they found the next in line to replace Kathleen Kennedy as Star Wars franchise head. Veteran movie producer Kathleen Kennedy has become president of Lucasfilm in 2012. Around the same time Disney bought the company, she was in the big chair during the Star Wars revival that kicked off in 2015 and The Force Awakens. The movie went on to really well, but follow-ups to The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker were far more controversial. They've also been ups and down in the TV side of things, and The Mandalorian and Andor becoming hits, while The Book of Boba Fett and The Acolyte quietly dying of embarrassment. Fans have a lot of opinion of Kennedy, but she's stuck in the decade she has made her mark. According to The Hollywood Reporter, she's one of the high-profile executive expected to step down in the near future. So they really have the timeline down. Who replaces her? Per HR, the current hopes is to replace Kennedy with two people who would act as co-heads: Carrie Beck, who's also joined Lucasfilm in 2012, and Dave Filoni, who has been the main driving force behind the creative direction of Star Wars since even before the Disney takeover. He's really started making his mark in the animated series Star Wars Clone Wars, which began in 2008. And continues with Star Wars Rebels, has worked in shows like Mandalorian and Ahsoka. He's also a big fan of The Mandalorian Grogu, which is currently in track to come out theaters May 22nd, 2026. It hits the target. It'll be the first Star Wars movie to drop in 6 years. So it's I guess it's telling. I guess Miss Carmen, what do you know about this lady who obviously has surpassed Dave Filoni?
Well, I'm not so sure she has. I mean, this is just a claim made by the Hollywood Reporter. Ms. Beck is a very interesting character. She was long a Kennedy loyalist and was kind of a lieutenant for her. So she certainly was always been positioned to be the kind of person that might come up, right? I did report on her over a year ago that when Favreau had kind of solidified from my sources his internal control of the company, that essentially he'd had a conversation with Ms. Beck, and that she flipped, and she understood where the bread was buttered, that Kennedy, regardless of her title, was not going to be calling the shots for the most part. She had a few things like acolyte that she had power over, but in general was not going to be influencing a lot of other things as she had in the past. And then, Beck basically said, all right, go with the new boss. And that she essentially bent the knee to him. I had a report on that on Patreon a year ago. If she comes in, people have already on my Patreon have expressed, distress that she, being an acolyte of Kennedy, would replace her, if that is true. But from what I've been told by our sources, that she's going to be, if she were to take any high-profile role past Kennedy, she would still know that it's per the good pleasure of Jon Favreau. Again, it doesn't have a title, but if he says, I don't like what you're doing, you need to do it differently, she's going to do it that way. And so she won't be, independently autonomous as Kennedy was in the early years of her reign. I still don't know that she's going to be that person. I think that she doesn't, I think she's a very successful, I don't know if a good executive, she's a very successful executive within the structure of Lucasfilm. She survived, which is proof of success, right? But they might, to run an actual studio, I don't know that they would give it to Beck. I think that they would give it to someone who has actually run a studio or have been that level, at that level somewhere else. That's my instinct. I could be proven wrong, but I don't think that if she were to get some kind of role that's higher than what she currently has, that she's going to be continuing the Kennedy legacy, because she no longer defers to her because she knows where her bread is buttered. That's what I've been told.
Wow. And just about Miss Kennedy, we did forget her cumpleaños. Yesterday, I think, was her cumpleaños, so feliz cumpleaños, Señora Kennedy. We wish you a happy time, a great George Lucas piñata, and hopefully don't hit the franchise too much. So,
well, I think look, now that the Hollywood Reporter, and I've been saying it for months now, I've been saying it since the initial reports came out from Puck that were then followed up by Variety and the Hollywood Reporter, that she's going to leave this year. Those coming from major trades. It's not coming from, bozo buffoons, who don't know who they are, right? These are the trades, the mouthpieces of the industry. And then she did a sort of fake denial of it in Deadline, where she didn't actually say she wasn't going to low. She's going to say, I'm going to go on my own terms, probably later this year. She set a deadline, right? So whatever. But now, yet again, they're affirming that she's going to leave alongside with Iger. That's the narrative. That's the narrative of the trades. So if you want to keep saying she's there forever, the trades have already moved past you. And so I think we're at this stage where the industry is already thinking of her as a lame duck. So whether the fans want to accept that or not, the industry no longer. Once you have article upon article about you leaving, nobody thinks you have any power. Nobody turns to you. Can you get my show greenlit? Here's this movie idea, Kathy? Because the trades are saying you're leaving. So why? They're not even going to defer to her now.
But she did the acolyte. What are you talking about?
But whatever. Yeah. So but what I want to say is I want to congratulate her, because she wanted to leave on some kind of high note. And I think Andor gives her that. We'll talk about Andor shortly, but I think Andor gives her that. And, probably the affirmation you can give her is thank you for not interfering in it, because Rogue One was a good movie and Gilroy was involved in that, and she let a good movie be released. It was a very good movie. I think Andor ended up becoming a very, very good show, and she let it be released without really damaging it. That's a victory. Take it. You can leave with honors, because Andor's doing well in the ratings and people like it. I'm not sure if everyone in the fandom likes it, but the general public seems to like it. And so you can take it as your victory, and you can leave with dignity now.
better to leave now than right after Indiana Jones. Hi-oh, flip.